Hello and welcome to StratoCast, a podcast for BattleTech, the BattleTech UK South East group, and everybody else. And my name is Stuart, StratoCast Level 3, and today we're doing part 2 of Infantry Operations, and we are looking at infantry combat versus mechs. And we have a matchup here between 3 foot platoons of 28 troops of rifle platoons versus 1 Locust 1E, which is armed with 2 small lasers and 2 medium lasers. Now we'll also look later at matching up with a Locust with machine guns, because that's going to be rather awful, but we're going to start by just looking at how energy weapons works. So it's quite often you'll get this situations where you'll have infantry in a variety of situations against mechs. They are squishy. They are really squishy. You are not really going to be able to, even on BV parity, be able to take on mechs with infantry, except in very specific circumstances. They can sometimes do quite a lot of damage at times, but lots and lots of people are going to die. So we'll see that here, and we've got the 8 to 12 Locust, and one thing straight away you'll notice in this as we play through this is if it was a sensible AI and it was engaging just this infantry, it would just use range, because my troops here have got a range of 1, 2, 3 and they aren't able to get past 3. So the auto rifle has a range of 1, 2, 3. The laser rifle has a range of 2, 4, 6, which is actually a little bit better. Machine guns have a range of 1, 2, 3. The flamer is very short range. The flamer again is only 1, 2, 3, and the SRM again is 2, 4, 6. The longest one, of course, is the long range missile, which can go 3, 6, 9. And you can see the range charts on the bottom of page 215 of Total Warfare. Now, if I show you the record sheet for my troops, now I've exported this using Mech, which is great for exporting troops, Mech Lab and Mech. And you can see here we've got our foot platoon rifle. There are 28 troopers, and this is showing you how many troopers there are. You've got the skill 4 and 8, and you've got here the ranges. So they actually get a -2 to hit when in the same hex. Now we'll talk about this later, but getting in the same hex as something when your infantry is brilliant, because vehicles and mechs cannot attack things that are in the same hex as them. So if you can get inside the same hex as a vehicle or a mech, you can't be attacked. If it's except by physical attacks, so mechs can actually step on you. If it's infantry versus infantry, though, they can attack each other, or infantry versus conventional infantry versus battle armor. You've got a standard range chart here of no modifier at 1 range, +2 modifier at medium range, and +4 modifier at long range. But again, they can only go up to 3. The row under here is the damage. So you can see that the damage changes depending on how many infantry are alive. And we'll keep looking at that as we go through. This sheet is particularly useful because you've got all of the to hit modifiers here, and you've also got at the bottom here, you've got some other useful tables, which I'll actually refer to as we go through. So using Mech to produce sheets like this is actually really useful, because it gives you all the tables without having to thumb through the book all of the time to find them. So let's move that to one side and get going. So I'm going to skip the movement phase. So I've put one of mine into some light woods. They can go in light or heavy woods here. But just to show you the movement, I'm going to move these into the heavy woods. There we go. I'm going to move here. I've got one which I've put into some rough. Now I'm just going to stay still. And I've got one in some, just in the open on a hilltop. And here comes the Locust. And Locust is run straight up to these guys first. So now I'm going to make my weapon attack. Now, really important thing about infantry. Infantry do not modify their 2-hit rolls based on their movement. So infantry can walk, infantry can jump. It does not affect them. And that's the same for battle armor as well. So even if I've got jump infantry and I jump at +3, that would be nothing for infantry. It would be +3 for mechs, but nothing for infantry. So the infantry always have quite good to hit numbers, but on the other hand, their range is not very good. So to hit this this locust, I'm going to need, there's my little calculator here, and Mech tells me I've got a gunnery skill of 4. The target moved 7 to 9 hexes. That's +3, +2 for my range, and +1 because we've got an intervening lightwoods. So that's going to need a target number of 10. So gonna fire on them. Okay, and the other two are out of range. Now, what's happened now is the locust has attacked the easier target. He's actually attacked the foot infantry in the open. So we're going to actually see what happens when the firing occurs. So first of all, my weapons fire misses for my foot platoon, but for the locust here, the locust is hit with a medium laser. So we're going to run through the steps of what happens when a mech scale weapon, so that's a weapon that can be mounted on mechs or on vehicles, hits an infantry. First of all, you have to take the weapon damage, which for instance in this case is 5 for a medium laser. And then you have to consult the table, which can be found on page 216 on Total Warfare. And I've got a copy here. And so this table here, I'm just going to zoom in on it so to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So you've got the table here, which is non-infantry weapon against infantry. So you've got direct fire, which is energy or ballistic, which is medium lasers, all lasers, autocannons, PPCs, anything that's direct fire, Gauss rifles, cluster ballistic, which is LBX autocannons and HAGs, pulse lasers, so small, medium, or large pulse lasers, except for small and micro pulse lasers, which are considered to be burst fire weapons. So that's an important one there, which we'll talk about burst fire weapons later. Missiles, air effect, which is usually reserved just for what's it called? Artillery. Okay, so the air effect is artillery, and burst fire, which we'll talk about in a later section, and heat weapons, which again we'll talk about in a later section, like infernos or flamethrowers. So we're going to look at the medium laser. So the medium laser is a direct energy weapon. So you take its damage value and you divide it by 10. So 5 divided by 10 is 0.5, and then you round up. So you round up to 1 at this stage. So we've gone from basically 5 damage to 1 damage. But we don't stop there. So the next stage is to consider the type of terrain you're in. So in this case, the troopers are in open terrain. Now, if you're in open terrain, then the damage caused by any weapons is doubled. So then we take the 1, not the 0.5. So we take 1 because we rounded it out from 0.5 to 1, and then we take the 1 and double it to 2. So this is going to cause 2 damage. Now, how do you apply the 2 damage? You go to the infantry chart, which I'm just going to call up here. It's going to make that a bit smaller so we can see it. And you cross off the first 2 troops. Now, these troopers are effectively killed in action, and they no longer have an effect on the game. If you're playing the if you're playing the campaign version, then those troopers, you may check later whether those troopers have actually survived or are just injured. But in the basic game, they're considered KIA. So we'd cross off troopers, so at 28, and we'd cross off trooper 27. That will affect the damage we do. But remember, because all firing is simultaneous, the firing does not occur. The resolution doesn't occur till the end. So back to the damage here, we can see that that trooper there has taken direct energy fire, changed from 5 to 1, so 5 divided by 10, 0.5, rounded up to 1. Infantry caught in the open, damage doubled, goes up to 2 damage. And now there are 26 men left alive out of 28. Okay, so done there. There's no physical phase, and we'll go to the movement phase here. Okay, so now they've moved closer. Now I'm going to do something sneaky here. I'm going to take my foot infantry and I'm going to move them into the same hex. I have 1 initiative, so he's had to move first. If this was a sensible locust pilot, he wouldn't be doing this. He'd be further away. And we're going to walk into the same hex. Now this means that my troops can attack the locust, but the locust can't attack my troops. These guys will leave here just for the time being because they can't move fast enough to get to the locust. Again, problem with foot infantry, they're slow. They really can't. They are pretty much can make small repositions. They really can't reposition effectively against mechs. And that's one of the reasons why they're really good in urban warfare, because of the small distances. They can move in and out of buildings, but in open terrain like this, they can be cut down very quickly. I would say though that, say for instance, and I'll just get the movement for this one, say for instance this infantry here were to be at level 0 behind these level 1s, they would be out of sight. They would be out of line of sight and they wouldn't be visible. So weapons fire phase. If you're playing Mega Mech, sometimes you have to, if you're in the same hex or something, you have to go to the menu and do target, because it's something in your same hex. We'll do that. Now, again, you only have one type of attack when you're infantry. You don't have like multiple different attacks. You can't split fire. You have basically one attack. You can't say 15 troops attacks this guy and 15 troops attacks that guy. No, you can only do one attack. There is an advanced rule later about splitting groups into squads, but in the basic rules, it's again just one attack per platoon, even if you've got different weapons. So technically, an SRM troopers have SRM troopers have some of them have SRM, some of them have rifles, but it's considered to be all amalgamated into one weapon attack. So I'm going to fire on the locust, and the target number to hit the locust was going to be +3, because this locust has done a little lap of honor. My skill, which is 4, okay, but no modifier for my movement, and no modifier for the woods because we're both standing in the woods. Yeah, skip firing on these guys. And now we can see how the infantry attack. So with infantry, so the weapon fire for the locust will do that first actually. So the weapon fire for the locust, you can see it's firing a medium laser at the foot platoon. It hits, and again it does 5 damage, and this time it's attacking again the same ones in the open because it senses it can do more damage, from 5 to 1 and then doubled. If it had attacked these people at its feet, well, it can't, because you can't attack things in the same hex. If it was attacking ones in the other hex here in the heavy woods that was 1 hex away, the damage wouldn't be doubled because they are not in the clear, they are in woods. So it's a really important thing. Don't leave infantry standing around in the open, because they will be targeted and take quite a lot of damage. The weapons fire for the foot platoon. So let's run back through how this works. So step 1, you roll the to hit roll. So you take your gunnery skill 4, +3 modifier for the locust moving, which is 7. Okay, and you can see here we've got the target number of 5, because we also get -2 for the range. If you look at our range sheet here, you can see when you're at range 0, you're at -2 to hit. So getting to range 0 is brilliant for infantry. Next thing you do after you've hit is you roll on the cluster chart. Now this is why, again, it's quite good to do this, because you need a 20 whatever cluster chart. In this case, there are 28 troopers in this one, and the 28 troopers would roll on this 28 chart here. Okay, if you're looking for the extended cluster chart table, you can find it at the back of the Total Warfare book. Some of the books, or some of the quick reference sheets, only go up to 20, and they don't have up to 40, which you need for other parts in the game, like for HAG 40s or for infantry. Once you've rolled on the cluster table, and it says here we've hit, and you roll on the cluster table, rolling with 17 troopers hitting. So it doesn't tell you Mega Mech what it was, but 17 troopers would have been, say, rolling an 8 or a 7. Okay, so we've rolled to hit 17 troopers hit, okay, causing 9 damage. How do you know it caused 9 damage? Well, you roll on the cluster table, you get 17 troopers here, you go up to here, and you look, right, 17 troopers are here, and that causes 9 damage. So you look at the amount that have hit. Now, how is the damage applied? Well, the damage is applied in 2-point chunks, like short-range missiles. So each 2 points is resolved separately. So we've got, for 9 damage, it's going to be 4 lots of 2, so left arm, right torso, right arm, center torso, and 1 group of 1. So this has done 9 damage in total. So that's actually not too bad against the light mech. Let's do one more turn of this, and then we're going to have a look at a different matchup, which will be a little bit nastier. So I'm going to click on done. And in the movement phase, the Locust runs around. It's still determined to be at range 1. I'm going to move into here. And these guys here are just going to stay here, and they're going to stay there. Again, got to the weapon fire phase, and I'm going to target the Locust and fire. And the other ones can't fire because they're out of range. And now we got our report here. Again, the Locust is hit with the medium laser, again causing only 2 troopers to die. So sometimes, troopers in direct energy weapons, it can be quite durable. Even a PPC that does 10 damage is still going to be 10 divided by 10, which is 1, and then doubled if they're in the open, which is 2. So even a PPC can only kill 2 people. An AC-20, if something is in cover, will kill 20 divided by 10. So basically, will kill 2 people, and 4 if it's in the open. Against missile weapons, though, missiles are actually slightly better. So, for instance, if I hit with SRM-6s, then that causes damage value divided by 5. So you roll on the cluster table, and actually, sorry, I shouldn't say that. When you are targeting infantry with cluster weapons, they're considered to hit with their full cluster effect. So an LRM-20, you work out the damage from 20. And we'll see that in a minute when I put some cluster effect. We'll put a javelin on here as well next time. Medium pulse lasers are particularly effective. They do damage value of divided by 2, 10 plus 2. So let's say a clan large pulse laser will do 10 divided by 10, which is 1, plus 2, which is 3 damage. An LBX 10 would do, again, 10 damage because you don't roll on the cluster chart. You do 10 divided by 10 plus 1, so it would do 2 damage. So each of these weapons will have a slightly different effect. Small pulse lasers and machine guns will cover in the next section when we're talking about burst fire weapons. And burst fire weapons are really, really nasty against infantry. Alright, we'll close this one down and get the next scenario loaded. Okay, so we're doing scenario 2 here in our mechs versus infantry demo tutorial here, and this time I've got a variety of different infantry. I've got some foot short-range missile platoon. I've got a jump laser platoon. I've got some hover mechanized flamer platoon, so we can show what flamer damage does, and we've got some motorized rifle platoon. I've set them all as being gunnery skill of 2 and anti-mech skill of 3, except for the mechanized, which can't have an anti-mech skill, so has a skill of 8. So remember, whenever you're setting up mechanized, you don't take the base value from the master unit list. You have to take that value and always set the anti-mech skill, which is the equivalent of piloting, to 8, which means they're always actually quite cheap. But we're going to also see what happens to infantry when they meet machine guns, because we have a Locust 3V, which has a wonderful combination of 2 machine guns and 2 medium lasers, and also a Javelin with 2 SRM6s, so we can see that. Now, a lot of people say, why bother taking machine guns? They're the worst weapon in the game. They're only the worst weapon in the game if you live in a world where infantry don't exist. Once you live in a world where infantry exist, you realise that they are really important. And obviously, a lot of people play the game without ever playing infantry, but as soon as you realise that infantry are part of the game, then you start actually thinking, damn, I wish I had a machine gun, because they are very effective at getting rid of the pesky infantry. And as we've seen before in the previous demo, using a medium laser to get rid of infantry is actually very hard. If you keep every turn you shoot a medium laser at a platoon of troops in a forest, you're only deleting 1 trooper, or even a PPC. So if you've got like 2 PPCs, you're still only 2 troopers per turn that you are managing to kill if they're in the forest and not in open terrain. So we're going to have a go at seeing what happens in this situation and talk through some of the rules interactions. The Locust then has the burst fire weapon. So the burst fire weapon is any weapon that can fire basically bursts or high velocity weapons, and that includes small pulse lasers. This is why small pulse lasers are quite popular on clan mechs, because they kind of do the same job as machine guns, or AP Gauss rifles. So anti-personnel Gauss rifles also have burst fire characteristics. The other thing that has a burst fire characteristic is flamers. Flamers are particularly nasty. I didn't put flamers in this demo, I really should have, but they would have really destroyed the infantry. So if you look on here, it says burst fire weapon damage versus conventional infantry. So this is mech based burst fire weapons. You can see that the AP Gauss rifle, instead of doing normal damage of 2, does 2d6. A light machine gun does 1d6, a normal machine gun does 2d6, a heavy machine gun 3d6, a small pulse laser 2d6, and a flamer does a whole barbecue of 4d6 points of damage. Flamers against infantry is not a good idea, not a good day for the infantry. Now remember, again, all of those damages there are doubled if those troopers are in the open, and I will be sacrificing some infantry to show that. So the Javelin has moved with its jump jets there, I think, and I'm going to move some infantry here. So we've got this Javelin here, and I've got my mechanized infantry here. So I'm going to move my mechanized infantry here with the flamer, and it's got a movement value of 4. Because it would be 5, but it's been reduced by 1 because it's carrying a support weapon. And let's go after the javelin. I can't actually get into the woods because the woods is an illegal movement type, but I can get up here onto there. Now it cost me double, so that's 3 movement points to there. It would cost me double to get to there. Now if I got to here, for instance, I can't actually see the javelin because the javelin, I'm behind a level 1, and that means that the javelin wouldn't be able to draw a line of sight to me. So I'm going to go to here instead so I can see the javelin. This also means that mechanized, because they're quite fast, can actually generate a +1 movement modifier, unlike say foot infantry that can never walk fast enough to get a modifier. They're always easy targets. So we're going to move our mechanized infantry there, and we've got some foot SRM infantry here, and I'm going to move the foot SRM infantry into the same hex of the javelin, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, so now the locust is moved, and the locust is moved to do some nasty machine gunness to my foot platoon. I've got my jump platoon here, so I'm going to use my jump movement, and I can jump free, and that will give me a move modifier of +2, +1 for moving 3 hexes, +1 for jumping. And my motorized has got a movement value of 3, so it's going to go to here. And now we get to the fire phase. So I'm going to do something special for my SRM infantry here. We're going to perform an anti-mech attack. Now there are 2 types of anti-mech attacks open to us. The first type of anti-mech attack is the leg attack, and the second type of anti-mech attack is the swarm attack. The leg attack is basically planting satchel charges in the actuators and the different parts of the legs. And when you do a leg attack, you roll to hit with your anti-mech skill. It's modified by your target's movement, of course, and not the terrain you're in, because the terrain doesn't affect the hex they're in. And it's also modified by the number of troopers. Now that's quite important, because the number of troopers, as the number of troopers goes down, it very quickly affects it. So if I pull over my little record sheet here, you can see anti-mech attack table, leg attacks. If I've got 22 or more troopers, I get 0. If I've got 16 to 21 troopers, now because this is an SRM platoon, it's got 21 troopers, it's a +2, and then it goes up here. For swarm attack, again, it goes up. So I'm going to do a attack using the leg attack. Leg attacks are actually easier to pull off than swarm attacks. They also do their effect instantly, whereas swarm attacks, which we'll talk about in a minute, you don't actually do damage in the turn you swarm, you just do damage in the turns afterwards. So we're going to target the javelin and do a leg attack. It lets me. Now I forgot, because I moved, I can't fire, and actually that also includes, now whether this is rules or not, I'm not sure, because it's not firing, but I guess in Mech it seems to have included it as rules that I can't do a leg attack. So actually they can't attack this turn because they have moved and they're encumbered. So basically after running into that hex, they're a bit out of breath. So we're going to skip firing for those guys. My laser infantry jump platoon are going to have a go at targeting the javelin with their laser rifles. Laser rifles don't do much damage, but they have got a range of 246. Now my mechanized flamer infantry here, we've got man-portable flamers, and we're going to target the locust here, and we are going to change the mode Now you can actually do, there's two different rules for this. You can actually choose the rule where flamers do damage and heat, which is an optional rule from the BattleMech manual, or in the standard rules you have to choose which one they do. You can either choose that they do damage, or in Mech you have to click on the mode button and it changes it to heat mode. So I'm going to do it as heat mode just so we can show that effect. And we're going to fire on the Locust. And then we've got our rifle motorized infantry here. Again, we'll have a shot on the Locust as well. So let's have a look at the report, what happens here. So as we did last time, the medium lasers are only doing 1 point of damage. 5 divided by 10 is 0.5, rounded up to 1. They only do 1 damage. So we've now gone from 24 men to 23 men. The medium lasers hit, we've gone from 23 men to 22 men. 1 machine gun missed. But then this machine gun hit. So it hit, and we don't reduce the damage using this table. Okay, so we don't reduce damage. Instead, we roll 2d6 damage. And in this case, we've rolled, and it says here, damage has changed from 2, which is the standard machine gun damage, to rolling 2d6, which gets a 6. So 6 troopers are killed. Now you could roll 12 and basically do 12 troopers. This Locust here, if it rolled 12 twice, it could wipe out 24 troopers in one turn. Plus, it could wipe out more if those troopers were in the open. So 1 Locust with 2 machine guns against a platoon of infantry in the open, just rolling an average of 8, 7 or 8, will actually wipe out an entire platoon of 28 troops. Machine guns are good against infantry. Yes, they're not so good against everything else, but against infantry, they are brilliant. And so are small pulse lasers. You've got the... let's just find the Javelin. So here's the Javelin. The Javelin's firing SRM-6s. And the SRM-6s, it's firing at the mechanized hover platoon. Now, mechanized infantry are special. They've got 2 different things about taking damage. First of all, when hit by any mech scale weaponry, they take double damage. So their vehicles are very flimsy, and anytime they're hit by any mech scale weapon, so medium laser, anything like that, it doubles the damage. But if they're hit by a mech scale burst fire weapon, a machine gun or a small pulse laser, or something like that, or an AP Gauss rifle or a flamer, they take, instead of taking normal damage normally, each trooper takes 2 hits to kill. So in other words, if you shoot a machine gun at and you roll an 8 against the infantry, then each trooper will take 2 hits, and that would only kill 4 troopers instead of 8 troopers. So I'll say that again. So mechanized take double damage from any mech scale weaponry, and they take each trooper requires 2 points of damage if it's a burst fire weaponry. Now those 2 things don't stack, by the way, so it's mech scale weaponry or burst fire. So they don't stack. So you either apply one or the other. So this mechanized infantry unit here has been hit by the Javelin. The SRM-6, it rolls, it needs a 9. All 6 missiles hit, because when you are doing clusters against infantry, they all hit. And then you change the damage. Okay, from against infantry, damage is changed from 12 to 6 because you divide. Here we go. For cluster ballistic, you do damaged value divided by 10. Cluster missile, you do damage value divided by 5. So the damage value that it would normally do would be 12. Okay, so 6 missiles times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 5 is going to be 2.4. And 2.4 rounded up is 3. Okay, so it's always rounded up. So it's in the 3. Now that 3 is then doubled to 6 because it's a mechanized unit being attacked by mech scale weapons, and it's being caught in the open, which means it takes double damage because this hex here is open terrain. And so just from that one thing, 12 damage has been done, which means 12 troopers out of the 20 have been killed. So SRMs can be very effective. Also, mechanized troops are actually quite vulnerable against mech scale weaponry. What people kind of like say, why we use mechanized infantry? Well, mechanized infantry are very good against against conventional infantry. So against conventional infantry, which we'll look at later in another scenario, they again take 2 damage per box. So they're actually much harder targets against other conventional infantry. So if you're rolling a foot platoon against a wheeled mechanized platoon, the wheeled mechanized platoon is going to have the advantage there. But as we can see, mechs are kings of the battlefield. So let's see how the actual my infantry did against the AI. So we've got the jump platoon here, firing a laser rifle here. Needs a 3, rolls a 5, 13 troopers hit, okay, causing 4 damage, and it's done in, again, 2-point chunks, so it does 2 damage to each part. Then you've got the other 2, which unfortunately missed. The mechanized hover platoon misses, and if it had hit, it would raise the heat by that number of damage it did. So it could actually raise the heat by anything up to 15, depending on how much damage it can do. Remember, the rule is that you can only take up to 15 damage from heat effect weapons in one turn. And the weapons fire for the motorized platoon rifle again missed, unfortunately. So round 1, I think, goes to the AI. Let's do round 2. Okay. So I've lost initiative there, and this time I'm going to stay where I am. Okay, so that I can use an attack. I'm going to skip movement with the SRM infantry. And then we're going to select the rifle infantry here. They're going to go up here, and they can't get up to the level 1 because they've only got 2 movement points. Normally you have 3 movement points, but because they are encumbered, they have only got 2 movement points. Actually, no, they're not encumbered, these ones. These ones have got rifles. They've got 3 movement points, but it costs 1 to go to here. Then here would cost 4 movement points, and it only has 3. But I can go all the way to here for 3 movement points. Yeah, you get -1 movement for going into the woods. The jump, we can actually jump into the same hex as the locust. And the mechanized, well, the mechanized can't enter the same hex as the woods here, so they are, I think we're just going to move around. And actually I can show you that they can't be targeted if they go to here. They'll be out of line of sight, or they could actually even, no, let's put them here. Or should we heat it up? Let's heat it up. We're going to go up to here, so it's 1 movement point to there, 1 movement point to the next hex, plus 2 movement points for going up 1 level. Okay, so weapons fire phase. We're going to fire our SRMs into this locust here. So our SRM's heavy one-shot launchers. And now we've got our lovely jump infantry, I'll jump laser infantry, and I'll jump laser infantry, then I'm going to do the leg attack. So I've got 21 jump infantry in this one, so that means that they are going to have a +2. They've got an anti-mech skill of 3. I've kind of stacked the deck on that, so they're not going to take too much. It's going to be quite easy to hit. Okay, and we've got the leg attack here, and the leg attack is going to target the locust. There we go. So we're going to target the locust with the leg attack, and click on done firing. And then we're going to, with the remaining 8 troops from the mechanized flame troopers, here we're going to attack the locust. Again, we've got this set to heat mode, so we can heat the locust up. And then last of all, we've got our rifle motorized platoon here, which are just going to shoot the locust as well. So let's see what happens now. So first of all, my foot platoon anti-mech SRM hit with 12 troopers hit, causing 6 damage, and do 3 2-point chunks into the locust's armor. And this is perfect. So the jump platoon laser has been successful. It needed a 5, and the reason it needed a 5 was the following. It has an anti-mech skill of 3, and it has a +2 because there's only 21 troops. Otherwise, it would take the movement modifiers, but it doesn't take the terrain modifier of the hex it's in. So it only needed 5, and when you roll to hit with a leg attack, it causes a automatic chance of critical on 1 leg and 4 damage. So it's a chance of critical. It's not an instant critical. So you roll for the leg as normal, so 1 to 3 right leg, 4 to 6 left leg, and you cause 4 damage to that leg's armor, and then you roll on the critical table. Unfortunately though, I only got a heat sink, which is disappointing. Of course, the best thing to get is if you get a hip, and that could cause the mech to fall down. Now I'll just close the round reports. Let me open it again. So the locust here fires back, and the locust hits with the medium laser against the mechanized troops, again reducing the damage from 5 to 1, but then doubling it, okay, causing doubling it because they're mechanized, so going from 5 to 0.5, which rounds up to 1, then doubled to 2, and then doubled because they're in the open to 4. So that kills those 2 medium lasers there, kills the entire platoon. Then the machine guns, well, the machine guns are also firing at the mechanized, but you can see something interesting happens here. So mechanized, the machine gun at the mechanized troopers, it hits, it rolls 2d6 and rolls a 5. Okay, it takes 5 damage, but each trooper would take 1 damage, but there are no troopers left, so it doesn't matter. But each troop, that 5 damage would actually only kill 2 troopers. It doesn't list any troopers dying here because they've already died, but if it was going to, that attack here wouldn't kill 5, it would only kill 2. And that attack here, instead of causing 3, would only kill 1. So each trooper effectively takes 2 hits to kill it, and you don't round up. So the way to represent this on your sheet is simply by doing a cross motion with one slash for the first point of damage and the other slash for the second point of damage. So, and then we've got the motorized platoon, which gets a great hit hits, causing 9 damage on the Locust. And you can see that against infantry, you can still start peeling armor off here. And then the jump platoon is attacked by the SRM-6. All the missiles hit because you always roll all the missiles to hit. Okay, so you don't roll in the cluster table when attacking infantry. And they reduce the damage from 12 divided by 5, rounded up, which is 2.4, rounded up to 3. And they're not in the open, so they take 3 damage and 3 damage again. So if 6 troopers are killed by 2 flights of SRM-6s. So not going brilliantly for the infantry side. We've lost one of our squads. So my flip platoon anti-mech here are gonna just skip the movement and stay where they are. And now the javelin has moved. So I'm going to follow the javelin here with my laser, with my anti-mech, sorry, my laser jump platoon. And they can just go up the hill or they could jump. Remember, it doesn't matter because there's no movement modifier for infantry. And then my motorized here can actually roll into the same. It's going to go into the same one as the Locust here. And the Locust has moved around. So we're going to start off then with our missile attack against the javelin. And then we're going to do a swarm attack. So we're going to target this and we're going to do the swarm attack. Now we've got 20, we've only got 14 troopers left because we lost, how many troopers does it say? We lost 6 last turn and we started with 21. So we actually should have 15 left. Can't see where it says the number of troopers. Oh, it says it down here. There's 14 men alive. So we've got 14 men alive, which means if we look on this table for anti-mech attacks, a swarm attack, when you've only got 14 troops, okay, 10 to 15 is not possible. So we can't make a swarm attack. But we could make a leg attack at +5. So let's do the leg attack at +5. So we're going to click on leg attack and fire. One common misconception is that leg attacks and swarm attacks are physical attacks and happen in the physical phase. They don't. They happen in the weapon phase. Okay. So what we've had happen this round, we've got some fire from the SRM, so the SRMs have hit, causing some more damage to the javelin. The Locust is hit with the medium laser against the jump platoon, and this time the jump platoon are in the open because they're on this top here, so the damage is doubled against them. So it goes from 5 to 0.5 rounded to 1, 1 to 2 doubled, and then the second medium laser hits again. And then the machine guns, and this is where it gets nasty. Oh no, he missed with both machine guns. I was hoping he'd hit, so you could see that would have been very, very messy. The leg attack missed, unfortunately, and the motorized attack there hit with the auto rifles. We're going to do one more round of this. Now we also had a physical attack there. If I go back, you can see that the javelin there has done a kick, and kicks are just the same as against mechs. So you can see the Javelin needed an 8 because 2 base, attack around 2, target jump +1, and +3 for trying to stop infantry in the same hex. So the skill, you got the anti-mech skill, -2 because it's a kick. The attacker's movement, I had a +1 movement modifier, and attacking infantry is at +3 if you want to try and stomp them. And so it missed, and like any kick roll, because you missed a kick, it has to check to see whether it falls over. So finally we've won initiative here. So my anti-mech troops here are going to go. So we're just going to stay there and fire because we can't. Anti-mech troops with support weapons aren't particularly useful, I don't think. So we're just going to stay there. My jump infantry, however, are going to move into this same hex as the Locust. And my motorized infantry here are going to move into the same hex as the Javelin. So we can try 2 swarm attacks. So let's hit the Locust with some fire from the SRMs, and then we can do our swarm attack. Oh, the jump platoon can't do the swarm attacks. Let's do a leg attack. So to our leg attack. And now, I always find this fun that the motorized can do swarm attacks. They literally jump off their motorcycles and swarm the mech. So we're going to do a swarm attack targeting our Javelin. Or we're not. For some reason it stopped me from doing that. So maybe motorized units can't do swarm attacks. I'll check that. Let's do another leg attack here. And we can see that we've got the medium lasers, again, not very effective in Locust, only killing 1 troopers each. Machine gun, however, hits, it changes, instead of doing 2 damage, it rolls 2d6 and rolls an 8. The infantry are in the open, and the 8 is doubled to 16, and that means 16 out of the 24 troopers are killed, so only 8 men are left alive. So you can see machine guns are very, very effective. You've got the Javelin again with the SRM-6, and now we've got the anti-mech attacks, and you can see here we've got the Javelin is hit by the leg attack, and the leg attack rolls a 3 and gets no effect because it's not an automatic critical, you have to roll. Right, so that's the end of that little demonstration. Again, we've covered here again more attacks against mechs, and we've looked at the anti-mech attacks as well. There is a lot more to rules for anti-mech attacks, and it's well worth looking in Total Warfare for how they work, and also if you're a mech, how you can fight against them. But next time we're going to look at some infantry versus infantry attacks, and look also at buildings, because buildings are a very important part of the infantry rules and how they work.